What's going on, guys? This is Kaishara, welcome back. So we are back with another Uncrowned Kings local metagame report video that will cover tournament results and decklist reviews for the past 2 weeks. Now we have March 1 to March 13. So I know this video is a little bit late, no? But we are going to cover which decks have done pretty well on the remainder of the January format this March. So before we eclipse towards our new ban list this upcoming April, we are going to see the decks that have topped on that month of March. So without further ado, let's start. Coming at first, we have Abyss Station Headquarters Ranking Duel. We have Rescue Ace with 3 Diable Star, no? Which, and I think it's the correct ratio because he doesn't play Bonfire. So I think he's trying to maximize the consistency of the deck by having more copies of Witch. But sadly, we now have 2 copies of Wanted going away from the ban list. So this deck will be much more less consistent, but I think Bonfire will do the trick for this deck. Next, we have Snake Eyes Sinful Spoils. So I think this deck is very strong as well. Has a lot of hand traps and very consistent as well. So they now have lost 2 copies of Wanted and 1 copy of Ash, but I think they can adapt by playing more consistency cards and bumping the copies of other cards that give them utility. So yeah, I think nothing too unusual except for the fact that he plays 2 summon limit and anti-spell at the same time. So he wants to have ambiguous going first using this deck. Next, we have Tenpai, no? So this deck doesn't really touched by the current ban list that we have for April. So this deck is still strong. This deck won the Philippine Battle Nexus tournament, and I think it will continue to go that way because Tenpai is Tenpai, one of the most formidable going second deck, probably the best going second deck of all time right now. So I think this deck is very destructive when it can go second and has tons of hand traps on the main deck to slow the tempo of the game and choke their opponents out. So yeah, I think this is a pretty standard list of Tenpai. So it means 1 Lightning Storm and 1 Talent, pretty unusual. But other than that, the Heavy Storm and Feather Duster are pretty much standard on the main deck of Tenpai. Next, we have Fire King Sinful Spoil Snake Eyes. So this deck is heavily touched by the ban list. They have lost copies of Ash, Kirin, and Wanted. So I think they are going to incorporate the new Fire King card on the main deck. But let's see how this deck folds on the April format. Next, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Davao Mindanao Gaming Ranking Tournament. At first, we have Scarecrow Horus from Alfred Zamora. So he's a very notorious player for Scarecrow, and he pretty much knows the inside and out of the deck. So I bet he really knows what he is doing on this list. So look at this, there's a lot of unconventional cards, no? So he played Pantera, even Pantera on the main deck from the Vanquish Shoal, and also Horus. Very interesting, no? When you consider the fact that Horus gives him extra negate from the Photon Lord and also more powerful going second prowess. But he doesn't run Zeus, no? So he's not trying to capitalize on the XYZ turbo of the Horus when going second. But instead he plays Zombie Bonfire. So maybe he wants to pitch cards on his graveyard. Next, we have Prime Crew Snake Eyes in Full Spoils. So this time he plays the Diable Z. And where are though on the main deck? So no Bonfire. So this is like the budget version of the deck using the Where's Art Though. And yeah, I think this is really interesting. It has a lot of Snake Eyes cards on the main deck, and I think this is a nice budget list for Snake Eyes and a good reference to look at. And he plays Trishula, very interesting, very spicy. I never knew Trishula would be accessible on this deck, but yeah, I'm very interested on how he plays this card out on his deck. Next, we have Order of the Duels and Albay local ranking tournament. So the first here is the champion from Jomar, Runic Stan, no? So yeah, pretty basic decklist for Runic. Plays D Fissure and There Can Be Only One and Rivalry and Gozen. So now we only have one There Can Be Only One. Now the card text really speaks for itself. There can be only one because it is at 1 now. But it didn't really hurt the Runic, to be honest. I don't see it a very crucial part for the downfall of Runic. Runic will still be Runic, a very pesky deck to deal against, and a deck that is very cancerous that decks out the opponent and wins on time using Gain LP. So yeah, Runic is still viable for me. Next we have Snake Eyes from Patrick Burton, I assume. So this list is very functional. It plays a lot of hand traps, no, and 2 talents. Very interesting. Maybe he wants to answer hand traps on the format. He opted to run talent on the main deck to trade better when he got Veiled, I assume, or Ash. So yeah, I think this is really nice list from Patrick. And also, Change of Heart, 2 copies on the side deck. Many people are experimenting on Change of Heart right now, but I don't really see how impactful this card is on the current format right now. But yeah, I think Change of Heart can be a very suitable going second card when you lose the die roll, and also the card can be very functional on boards that wants to prevent the floating effects and other graveyard effects of most monsters on the game. So yeah, Change of Heart is there for that instance, and also a pointer on the side deck. Very wise from Patrick. He wants to out the Lava Golems, the Sphere modes from the Runic from earlier. So I think this can be quite clutch when you match up against something like Runic, Labyrinth, Eldritch, all of those control decks that has tributing monsters. Next we have Drytron. So Drytron got supported, no, from the recent announcement from Konami. Drytron will get new monsters to boost the deck, and I'm excited to see where Drytron falls on the following format, because right now they don't pretty much do much, and I think they really badly need that support to empower the deck and make it more competitive on the current modern game, because it's been 2-3 years already that Drytron has been relevant on the format from 2021 format, back then when they have only copies or 2 copies of Eva, and yeah, a bunch of Omni Negates from the Perfection. Next we have Raido, Sky Strikers. So Sky Striker with a going second intent build. So this is pretty spicy because he doesn't really play many hand drops on the deck. Instead, he plays droplet and evenly match. So I think it is his coping mechanism to play going second striker, because the Shizuku pass doesn't do that much, to be honest. It really feels lackadaisical when you end on Shizuku with Widow Anchor. So yeah, I think he opted to go second on this Sky Striker over than the usual going first turn of Sky Striker. Next, moving on, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Community Zambales tournament report. We have Champion Ritual Beast. So this is also a nice deck. It plays Shifter, of course, and Fissure to mitigate the graveyard advantages of the format. And I think it will definitely be a viable option as well on the next format, because there's still a lot of graveyard decks on the format, and also Finsmith will be very powerful moving forward. So this can be a very anti-meta-esque deck to play to counter the format as well. Next we have Tenpai. So Tenpai with more going second cards on the main deck. It plays Raigeki, Lightning Storm, Talent, and Trust. So he has a lot of plethora of board breakers on the main deck, and he still plays a lot of hand traps. He didn't bother to play other cards other than board breakers and hand traps on this list. Quite really linear way of logic on playing Tenpai, just to go second and barrage your opponents with board breakers and hand traps. Next we have Pendulum Magician from Bob Marzan. So standard list of Penmagi, no? So nothing too unusual or nothing too extravagant here. Just the correct amount of cards on the deck, and the Dragon Shrine really feels amazing for this deck. Once you resolve the Dragon Shrine, I think there's not many decks that can break your board on this deck. Next we have Fluandris from Wilson Bernuevo. So this Fluandris aims to go first and stun the opponent using the Patchy, or the one to the Fossil Dyna, and it's very frustrating to deal against that, especially when you don't draw imperms or other negation type of cards to out the Patchy. It's very frustrating. Game 1, I think it seals the game for Fluandris for a lot of times using this Patchy. So moving on, we have Bandung to Willis Banley's ranking tournament. We have first place here, we have Supreme King, Penmagi, another Penmagi with 42 card deck played Nibiru and Veiler on the main deck, maybe for cross-out targets. And triple DD Crow, quite extensive number of DD Crow on the side deck. You don't really see that every day, no? Triple DD Crow on the side deck. And he also played 2 Bell, so he wants to nullify graveyard interactions on the format. And triple talent, very extensive amount of talent on the main deck. Maybe he wants, on the side deck rather, maybe he wants to just answer hand traps. He didn't bother to play other going first cards except for talent. Next we have Tenpai, so this time it plays the when there's a will, there's a way out, I assume. That's the name of the card. So it can be nice, but he didn't play set rotation or other field spell tethering cards here. And he played Monster Reborn on the main deck. This can came up clutch on some occasions that you want to board break and do your OTK line of play. And yeah, side deck copies of Kashtira. Wow, very spicy. So he plays Kashtira when he goes first, and usually he plays going second using that Tenpai, of course. So yeah, this can be very surprising, no, for his opponents, especially against the Fire Nation when he can set up a Rise Heart. He pretty much wins the game from there. Next we have Chimera. So Chimera, standard build of Chimera. 2 Chimera Fusion only and 2 Poly and 2 Talent on the main deck. And only 2 Patchwork. But on the side deck, he played a lot of hand traps. He compensated for the lack of going second cards on the main deck. On his side deck, he played Droll, Bell, and Nibiru, and as well as the Bestials. So he doesn't run back row removals anymore on this list. So he's pretty bold, no, to assume that he can play around floodgates and back row. Next we have Dino from Tegar. So I have saw this guy a lot of times already on Indonesia, and I think he's been very good on playing Dino. He really knows his stuff, but this time this is very spicy. He plays Tenpai on the main deck, so there's a lot of unpredictability on the main deck. Maybe he wants to play Tenpai to surprise his opponents going second, and this is quite a going second build of Dino, I assume, because it plays Droplet, so he doesn't really wants to go first. Maybe he just used the Dino when his opponents lets him go first because he's playing Tenpai. So his opponents would rather avoid him going second and OTK using the Tenpai. Very genius from Tiger. And the next we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Davao Mindanao Gaming Ranking Tournament. On first here we have Snake Eyes Sinful. So plays Gamma on the main deck and didn't play Delta. Maybe the Delta was on the side deck. But yeah, 3 copies of Kirin. This will be the last time that we're going to see this because Kirin will go into 2 moving forward, and also 2 for Island. So you couldn't get wrong with this. I think Island into 2 is very prominent on longer period of games, and as your backup emergency plan as well when your first island gets annihilated by your opponent. Next we have another Fire King Sinful Spoils. So this time it plays the Lancea on the side deck. Maybe he wants to eradicate Floandris matchups because Floandris is very polarized here in the Philippines. There's a lot of Floandris players, so Lancea becomes a card that is very relevant on the side deck. Next, moving on, we have Rikes Toys and Hobby Shop Ranking Tournament. First place, we have Ritual Beast, so another Ritual Beast. So I think Ritual Beast is a nice deck on the format right now, and even on the following format. For the reasons that I have said earlier, this deck is very strong against the format. And yeah, the side deck is even lacking, so he managed to win the tournament with only 11 side deck cards. Really insane. Next, we have Gali, Chimera Horus. So another Chimera, no? So Chimera has been gaining traction recently, mainly for the fact that they have gotten new supports, and the deck will eventually get better from the Yubel cards and also the Finsmith cards. So this deck will be even more powerful moving forward. Next we have Yubel. Speaking of the devil, we now have Yubel. So Yubel got supported from the recent V-Jump magazine card, the Spirit of Yubel, I assume, the fusion card. So it's like a DPE with more insane effects, and I think Yubel is instantly a contender on the format right now from that moment that they have received that card. So now Yubel looks very promising, and I'm really afraid of facing this deck because this deck is really hard to beat, and there's a lot of play arounds and play through using this deck that is very functional on mid game to late game scenarios. You cannot outgrind the Yubel, and also the Unchained cards is really pesky on this deck. Next we have Fire King from Al. So standard, he plays 1 for 1 on the main deck. That's the unusual part. So he doesn't really play, it's not standard. He doesn't play Bonfire, but instead he plays 3 Sanctuary and 2 Original. So yeah, it's like a budget version of Fire King, Sinful Spoils. And yeah, this is the budget version of that. And what's the card between Crossout and Nibiru? On the side deck, I think he made a decklist error because the side deck says 16 cards. But I assume this is Apollo or the Winged Dragon of Ra. Very insane. And next, we have, moving forward, we have Time Walk ranking tournament. We have Snake Eyes, Sinful Spoils. So another Snake Eyes. I think Snake Eyes Fire King will eventually get weaker from the new ban list, but we are still going to see these decks on the format because most people cannot really ditch the deck because they have spent so much monetary value from the Bonfire, from the Sinful Spoils engine, from the Snake Eyes core, and also the Fire King core are pretty much expensive, quite extensive amount of money already. That's why I think they are not really going to let go of the deck that easily. Next we have Labyrinth. So Labyrinth, quite unusual position right now in the format, no? Labyrinth really struggles around the Fire Nation, and also the trap lineup can be very underwhelming on some occasions and other matchups, but other than that, this still looks very promising and solid because Labyrinth is Labyrinth. It's been there on the format for a very long time already. Since 2020, Labyrinth has been a thing on the format and it didn't really go away or anything. So I think Labyrinth will still be a viable choice moving forward. Next we have, Ancient Gear. Very interesting. So this is like a going second combo deck that aims to destroy boards and really overwhelm the opponent. So he plays Olayon on the main deck and Synchron. And on the side deck, he plays Kaiser Colosseum. So this is very insane. He has tools to go first, and this deck is inherently good when going second. Next, we have Salaman Great. So nothing unusual here. Plays the Kaiser Colosseum, of course. Very immense for Salaman Great. And also Anti-Spell to prevent his board getting nuked from other board wipe cards. And I think this list is very solid. And moving on, we have Duelo Iloilo ranking tournament. We have first place Luandris from Wintet Diana. So plays Dogmatica package on the main deck with Ecclesia and Punishment. So he also played Nadir. I think she didn't play Garura on the extra deck. So yeah, it's quite reasonable because she only plays one Nadir. So I think it's fine, no, to not run Garura. But if she is playing 3 Nadir, she would benefit from the draw 1 of Garura on this list. But yeah, Nadir is just another outlet on this list. And on the side deck plays the Dark Simorg. So very powerful on the Philippines metagame to answer backroad decks and other metabit and other control type of decks on the Philippines metagame. So yeah, I think this is a regional decision in the deck building tendencies of Luandris players in the Philippines to play the Dark Simorg. And next we have Chimera from Earl Andrew Camara. So Chimera with only Chimera because before he is playing with branded engine, but now he ditched the branded to play illusionist cards on the deck and Sinful Spoils as well with the Diabol Z and illusionist cards, Magician. So this is like the more standard version of Chimera, but instead he plays Sinful Spoils to maybe boost the ceiling of the deck. And yeah, moving on, we have Voiceless Voice from Uriel Ray. So, place only one Sauravis and place the Pendulum Grab Dragon. In my own perspective, I would rather play the Sauravis second copy over the Pendulum Grab, but Pendulum Grab is very immense on Tenpai matchup because it has access to the Meteor Burst on the extra deck. So that's the additional effect of that, and it's very advantageous when you go against Tenpai. And next we have Order to Duelist in Albay ranking tournament. We have first place here, we have Angelo James Tenpai. So speaking of the devil, we have Tenpai. So this time Tenpai plays Shifter on the main deck. So Shifter on Tenpai really looks dangerous now. When you see it on paper, it's really overwhelming to look at because imagine getting OTK'd by a deck that has one card starters with Shifter and a lot of hand traps and even plays board breakers on the main deck. What can you do, no? Just pray and hope that they don't draw the specific cards to out your board or stop your play using this Tenpai. So Tenpai is really immense and insane right now. Next we have Carl Joshua, Melodious. So he only played one-sided card if I'm seeing things correctly. So yeah, maybe he has decklist error on this tournament. But it plays Small World on the main deck to boost the consistency because he doesn't play Extravagance. So I think he's trying to cope using the Small World because he doesn't run Extravagance. Maybe he's not a fan of Extravagance, but for me, Extravagance is very strong on Melodious, but there's a risk that your extra deck would get depleted from the Extravagance, of course. Next, we have Rika from Carl Steven. So he's a very strong Rika player in the Kaidulis community, and I have seen him play. So I know for a fact that he's very good on playing Rika, and I wouldn't doubt his deck building tendencies because he's been playing the Rika for quite some time already. Next we have Jay Centurion. So another friend of mine. So this is the Floodgate Centurion, plays Kill Drain, Kaiser, and Fissure. So you couldn't say that much on this list. It's just a Floodgate Turbo of Centurion with protection from the Arcoela. And yeah, I think this is a very functional list for Centurion right now to play Floodgates over hand traps because it has more powerful going first capacity. Next, moving on, we have Rizal Zambales local tournament. I think it's the same deck from earlier from Bob, so we won't really ponder on it too much. Next, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Dumaguete local tournament from Alexis Precioso. So, standard list of Fire King Snake Eyes in full spoils. So, plays 2 talent on the main deck. And yeah, that's the only intriguing part here. On the side deck, plays Solemn Strike over something like the Barrier or Anti-Spell, no? So, Solemn Strike, quite generic card but can be good on some occasions. And next, we have Centurion from Duel Bacolod tournament from Rafa Gonzalez. So, standard build of rather Tenpai Centurion. So, it plays a little bit amount of Centurion cards with Tenpai. So, you can just have plays when going first using the Centurion cards just to synchro out monsters. And also, the Droplet and Raigeki really feels amazing on this deck because you have so much cards on your hand to play even after solving the Droplet and also the Raigeki. So yeah, I think it's just the different variety of Tenpai using the Centurion from Rafa Gonzalez. Next we have Salamangreat from that same tournament from Bacolod from Ed Arthur Seldura. So plays the red reboot, no? Maybe he wants to eradicate trap cards when going second because red reboot is very strong on the Philippines metagame. There's a lot of control decks and trap based decks on our metagame, so red reboot is almost always okay on our meta. And yeah, moving forward, we have the COSX Pop Convention tournament. So the first place is Vanquish Shoal. So I couldn't see properly his deck, but he plays Summon Limit on the main deck and also Nibiru, I think. And on the side deck plays Eradicator. Very interesting. So he plays Eradicator. And also there can be only one, of course. Very strong for Vanquish Shoal. Next we have Tenpai, I assume, the second place on this tournament. So yeah, it's only a post for Vanquish Shoal. So yeah, moving forward, we have casual ranking tournament, weekly tournament from AW, Twins Board Game Cafe. So yeah, we have first place from our friend in Indonesia. We have Gaza Matmek. So sa the Matmek we hid plethora of hand traps, nothing too extravagant and unusual here. He didn't play Imper on the main deck and plays Ghost Bell and Nibiru instead. So Ghost Bell can be good on the upper matchup and of course the Labyrinth matchup. And plays the 3DD Chrono on the side deck. Next we have Illusion. So Illusion is with Chimera. So yeah, the standard ratio of Illusion and Chimera cards. Played 3 Patchwork and Edge Imp and 2 Baphomet only. And plays Wang Hu Tiger, very interesting. I think Wang Hu Tiger is very immense for this deck and can be very surprising when you go against this Wang Hu Tiger. And next we have Horus Runic. What a deck. I'm really flabbergasted that I am seeing this deck because this is very cancerous to look at and this feels very illegal on paper. But yeah, Runic is a stun-based deck, so it can cater the Horus, of course, just to have extra consistency from the Coach King and extra bodies on the field from rank 8 Turbo. Next we have Steven Fire King, so plays no Bonfire on the main deck, so there's a lot of budget decklist of Fire King on our edition right now. And plays Phantasmi on the side deck. Phantasmi has been losing traction recently, but I think it's still phenomenal on the mirror match and other link based deck like Snake Eyes matchup. And moving on, we have Credibilis Weekly Tournament Fluandry's champion from Justin De La Peña. So this is like a TCG-esque build of Fluandry's plays Trust and Trust targets on the main deck like Dark Ruler No More and Evenly and the Harpy's Feather Storm. So this is like the TCG version of Fluandry's, no? Quite different from the usual hand trap oriented version of Fluandry's in the OCG or with the Apache stun that is very popular in the Philippines, but this is different. He played only one Apache on the side deck just to have extra measures on going first capability and plays a lot of going first cards as well. 3 anti-spell, 3D barrier, and 2 Feather Storm on the side deck. Next we have Tenpai from Jude, second place decklist. So plays Santa Claus on the side deck. Very strong card, just 2 trade cards for a negate or tower from the opponent. And also plays Rivalry, very strong when going first. I think Rivalry is his option over the things like Kaiser Colosseum and something like D-Barrier on this Tenpai list. So this is the Philippines Metagame OCG tier list that I have made from the first week of March. So we have another video for this. But yeah, I think this list pretty much represents our metagame in the Philippines on March. Next we have Memorabilia Yu-Gi-Oh! Local tournament first place from MJ Buebo, Supreme King. So very different from the usual Pen Magi, no? Plays little bit of beat down strategy from the Supreme King and add ice cards on this list deck list. And on the side deck he plays triple Necro Valley, very insane around the graveyard centric matchups. And also Waking the Dragon, very interesting from MJ Buebo. So this is a list that you should definitely look at because this is very unusual. Plays only one of Maxi, Droll, and Bell on the main deck. Very interesting from MJ. Next we have ranking tournament, casual weekly tournament from Twins Board Game Cafe. So yeah, this is the parking from earlier, I assume. So on the side deck, I don't know the card between Cosmic Cyclone and Trust. I'm not really sure about the effect of this card, but I have seen it somewhere already. I just can't recall the name of the card. But yeah, standard version of Fire King. And next we have another Fire King from Steven. So plays Spell Canceller, I assume. I forgot the name of the trap card. I'm losing the memory of mine on this card, but yeah, I think it is used to answer the spell cards. And also triple Lancea. So he just wants to eradicate the Fluandris and something like Runic matchup on this side deck. Next we have Dino without Tenpai. So I assume that I would see Tenpai, but this time it plays Sinful Spoils on the side deck. And even on the main deck, one copy of Witch. And yeah, I think it boosts the going first capacity of Dino to have extra countermeasures and also additional negate from the Silvera. And next we have Tenpai. So main deck Kaiser Colosseum, it's been a trend on Japanese Tenpai list to play Kaiser on the main deck and plays Mind Drain on the side deck. Very interesting. And moving on, we have Duelo Iloilo ranking tournament. So first place here we have Snake Eyes from Spencer Jones Go. So standard version of Snake Eyes plays Lava Golem on the side deck. Maybe he just wants to clear the board of his opponents and he doesn't really invest too much on his normal summon on this list. And yeah, moving on we have Patrick Ursula, Supreme King Melodius. So this is like the more explosive version of Melodius with more combo pieces and turboing on pendulum cards. And I think it's a really fast-paced tempo version of Melodius, but I don't see it even better than the Melodius because I see Melodius as a deck and pure version as a better type of deck above the Supreme King version. But this deck is very explosive when going first and has high skill expression. You have a lot of plays and tools to play on this deck, and I couldn't blame him because this list is very enjoying to play and it's more exciting than the usual Melodius type of deck, the mono version. And he plays Typhoon on the side deck, very interesting. And next we have Tenpai from Memorabilia from Ryle Espiritu. So this Tenpai plays Super Poly package on the extra deck. He didn't play Starving Venom, instead he played Dragostapelia and the usual Garura and Mad Dragon. And plays Vagnawa as well on the extra deck, another tech card for Tenpai, another alternative that can give them clutch experiences and rather gaming position to win the game using the Vagnawa. And also this list also plays Raigeki and Droplet and Lightning Storm. There's a lot of going second cards on his list, but I have seen his list somewhere, and I think he played evenly match on the side deck on this tournament. It is really what do you call this? Really insane because evenly match is a card that shouldn't be played on Tenpai, but on some occasions it can be good because of some matchups. The card is very matchup dependent on this Tenpai, and I couldn't figure out the logic on playing evenly match on Tenpai. But yeah, I think it works for him and the other Tenpai players that plays evenly match on the side deck. And next we have Time Walk, Yu-Gi-Oh! AE, Asian English Championship Report. We have Purely. So Purely is probably the best deck right now on the Asian English format because it plays triple Sleepy Memory and 3 Delicious, and also a lot of cards are R3 on this Purely right now, and it's been the best deck for Asian English right now. Next we have Dino and plays triple Prosperity. I think this is very alarming to see triple Prosperity because it really boosts the consistency of any deck on the Asian English format right now. But yeah, it is what it is. And next we have Unchained. So yeah, this has the new support from the Duelist Nexus, and also plays what do you call this? Elder Entity Entities. Maybe this is just a dump target. Next we have Vanquish Shoal. So plays evenly match on the main deck, and I think this is a going second approach for Vanquish Shoal. Plays Lightning Storm and evenly match and even Nibiru on the main deck. Moving on, we have Headquarters and Hobbies card games. We have Voiceless Voice on first place. So it plays triple pre-prep and doesn't play Extravagance on the main deck. I really prefer playing Extravagance over the third copy of something like pre-prep and other hand traps because you really need to bait out the Ash Blossom using this deck because ashing on Saphira feels very irritating and it's really hard for Voiceless Voice when you can Ash their Saphira. And yeah, moving on, we have Tenpai. So standard list of Tenpai. Plays Pankrataps on the main deck. And Pankrataps can be very good on Floodgate and other beat sticks on the opponent. And Burning Draw on the Tenpai. Wow. So yeah, this really can give him massive card advantages when going second. And next we have Snake Eyes with Synchron Package on the extra deck. So this is a more negate oriented Snake Eyes over the link based rather Snake Eyes. Next we have Branded Despia with Gimmick Puppet. Of course, Gimmick Puppet is really immense for the Branded. Gives him an auto win type of game when they can lock the opponent using the Gimmick Puppet. And yeah, moving on, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Davao Mindanao Gaming ranking tournament. On first here we have Sparking Snake Eyes. I think it's the same decklist as earlier that we have covered. It's the same pilot with same decklist. Next we have Voiceless Voice from Prime Cruise. So plays Ultimate Slay or Ultimate Slayer on the side deck. He has targets for the Ultimate Slayer, just Garura. And only Garura, no? So this is really bold from Prime Cruise to play this without Mirror Logic. Oh, it plays Mirror Logic. And yeah, I think it's only the two targets, Garura and Mirror Logic on this list, and plays Big Eye. So he has access towards the Big Eye using the rank 7 plays of this deck. Very interesting from Prime Cruise. Next we have Dogmatica. I think this is the anti-meta version of Dogmatica with Jogan Luck and of course the cards of anti-meta with Demise and Judgment, and even playing Dark Bribe on the main deck. So he doesn't really want to lose against back row removal. Maybe he has countermeasures for the Tenpai matchup because Tenpai plays Heavy Storm, Lightning Storm, and also Feather Duster on the main deck. So he had the urgency to play Judgment and Dark Bribe to out those problematic board wiping cards. And even plays Spellcaster of the Village, of course, because this is Dogmatica. And yeah, fourth place we have Chimera from Bernard. So plays the Dark Statue for this Chimera. Nothing too unusual. Just the usual amount of hand traps and cards for the Chimera. And yeah, moving on, we have Duelo Iloilo ranking tournament. We have Supreme King Melodious. I think it's the same list as earlier that plays the Typhoon. So yeah, he won first place on this edition of tournament. And this has more ZR cards, no? And plays Talent on the main deck. I think it's quite different from the earlier list. But yeah, I think there's a lot of references and similarities between his earlier list. And next we have Raika San Avalon with Rika and Tyrion. Very combo-ish type of deck. This screams Maxi on all angles because once you resolve Maxi against this deck, it's really alarming for this list. But yeah, I think the plant synergy between the Raika and Rika is really phenomenal. And also plays Royal Decree on the side deck. Just urgency against trap based decks and control decks. I really like this attack. And yeah, third place we have Melodious. So plays Talent and Evenly on the main deck. So he has more diverse cards on the main deck to go second. And moving on, we have Ricky's Toys and Hobby Shop ranking tournament. We have Tenpai Dragon, Triple Santa Claus on the main deck, and plays Blaster and No Way Out. And also plays double Black Rose on the extra deck. Very interesting. And now plays triple Burning Draw / Draw, I forgot the name. Yeah, so this is really insane from Wall. Next we have Lutfi, Jubel. So yeah, I think it's the same list as earlier, but yeah, it plays more Unchained cards and Lava Golem on the main deck as well. Next we have Rescue Ace with more Snake Eyes cards. So it doesn't play Bonfire, but it plays Snake Eyes Ash and Poplar on the deck, and plays Flamberge as well. So we have another Tenpai with Dark Hole on the side deck. So this is like an alternative for Regeki. Maybe he's trying to play around cards that can be cleared by Dark Hole. But yeah, very interesting choice from Andreas. And next, we have my Forbidden Ban List prediction limit regulation from April. So let's just stroll past this ban list prediction. I have failed to predict the Kaiser Colosseum Forbidden because Kaiser is at R2 on the recent ban list. And I have correctly predicted the Wanted into 1 and also the Tidal. And yeah, I think I missed out on Snake Eyes Ash. I thought that they are going to make this at R1. Next, we have Extravagance on semi-limited. So I have correctly predicted this as well because Extravagance hurts the consistency of Voiceless Voice. And next, we have Unlimited. I have correctly called the Infinity Launcher and Change of Heart. And yeah, that sums up our video for this edition of our Uncrowned Kings Local Metagame Report, tournament results, and decklist reviews. So thank you for watching. So please like and subscribe this YouTube channel. And see you on the next one. Peace.